And I want to know from you, for people who are listening right now and they've reached that point of burnout, what can they do? And have you ever been there yourself?
Level of burnout. Absolutely, I've been there. I was on medication. I went through a big bout of depression for many years. I was on medication for depression and for many other things. And it's one of those, once you get into that thing, you can't see the wood from the trees. You think that I just have to deal with this, and maybe medication will help, and maybe seeing the right people. And I went through lots of therapy as a person, and everybody. In fact, I was in South Africa because I spent 5 years in South Africa, and I went to saw a clinical psychologist, and I saw many, but this guy who's absolutely fantastic, and he taught me one thing. And he said to me, he goes, "Gary, you've got to stop being the Gucci suit with dirty underwear." And what that's meant to me was that on the surface, everybody saw that I was mentoring people around the world. I was on stages around the world, and I just looked the part, but inside I was a complete mess. And I couldn't serve people the way I wanted to serve people if internally I was broken, if internally I was burnt out, if internally I didn't know where I wanted to go. And having that time to say, okay, it's not about the facade anymore. What it is about truly knowing who you are, truly knowing what you want and why do you actually want it. I want to spend more time with my children. I want to spend more time with my family. I'm going to stop traveling. And that burnout and having that time to step out and reassess was tremendously important to me and tremendously valuable to me. And I think the last 2 years, I've seen people, like you say, kind of do exactly the same. They've reached that burnout. They've reached this, hey, I don't want to be doing this anymore. This is the people wanting too much from me and too little time for too little reward. So actually, in some way, this last 2 years has actually been a good time for people to reassess, for people to take stock and to look at what they're truly worth. And it's actually something I spend a lot of time with the people, is reassessing, revaluing what their true worth is. That a lot of people would think I'm only worth this, especially if they're employed, especially if they're been with a company for long, because that boss, if you like, is telling you how much you're worth per year, how much you're worth per month, how much you're worth per hour. When truly I know it better than they do until I start working with them to see it. And then they begin to see how much they are truly worth, per hour, per week, per year. And that's when you begin to see people shine. So first of all, there's got this away thing. Somebody's just got to realize that taking this break where you are right now isn't necessarily your be all and end all. You are capable of so much more to give to people. And that's why I talk about the passion earlier on. Everybody has this passion. Everyone has this power of their voice that they can just go out and share and be themselves rather than be the, I'm going to sound horrible, but be the puppet for someone else. But everyone, a job is a job and we need to do that. But you still got to be yourself and realize who yourself is.
That is wisdom. And, I want to know from you, Gary, as the world is changing, we're living in very unprecedented times. What are the big opportunities you're currently seeing?
One of the biggest opportunities I'm currently seeing is the growth of the self-worth. It's growth of people. It's funny how we can tie that, because if you look at any social media platform now, but particularly the TikToks, particularly Instagram, then followed by Facebook and followed by YouTube and LinkedIn, what you're seeing is a lot of people now are beginning to see that actually there are opportunities for them that they never saw before. With the rise of, and the ease of cameras and phones and the internet, people can actually say, hey, you take the old adage of how do we build a business? How do we build in sales? We've got to get people to know us, like us, and trust us, all right? We've got to do that. Social media has allowed anyone to be able to do that today. You get online, get to show who you really are. Be yourself. Don't be that Gucci suit with dirty underwear, if you want to rephrase that. Be truly who you are, enjoy who you are, and share it with people, because you are infectious. The happy you is infectious, and that's when people have followers today. So the biggest thing I've certainly seen over the last 2 years, people working from home, people not having to be bogged down by work, is more and more people are having the ability now to become higher earners, become business owners, become entrepreneurs. And once they add on the skill sets like marketing and copywriting and sales and presentations, once they add on those skills, they become unstoppable. And then you look back and you think, why did I spend so many years there when look where I can go? You know, and I think that's the important part, again, is to look where you want to go and never believe that you can't do it, because you can do it. You just don't know how to do it yet. We don't know what we don't know. So until someone shows you, I always like the fact that if we know, you've probably heard the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. But what most people don't think about is, if you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know the type of questions, and you don't know the type of people to ask what you don't know, because you don't know it. So you're stuck in this don't know mentality. So being around people, being around infectious, growth-orientated, success-orientated people allows you to think, oh, I never knew that. That's what I call the BFOs, you know, the blinding flashes of the obvious. You go, it was so obvious. Why didn't I know that? And being around the right type of people really does help to do that.
Oh, brilliant. And, you know, you mentioned social media, and Gary, a lot of people will be like, but I've got social media. I've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the above. But people don't like my posts, which brings me back to so many people are afraid to put anything out there because they're so afraid of people's response to it. How do you deal with it, and how should people deal with it?
You're absolutely right. That's a really good observation. The people are afraid of being judged because of, so where social media is really good, it's also really bad, because it's built this online bullying mentality that unless you're perfect, it's going back to my Chinese mother bringing me up and saying, if you're not perfect, if you're not the top, you are rubbish. And you do know this, and I know there'll be Asians out there listening, do you know your cousin? Your cousin is a super this, you know that, they're of this, why can't you be like this? And social media is the new Chinese mother, right? It is, look how great we are. It goes back down to who you are, knowing who you are, not what you want. I want the bigger house, I want the better life, I want more time, work-life balance. That's all things you want. But what about you? What do you want, and why do you want it? Because once you start following that path, you know, well, I'm here and this is what I want and why I want it. Then it doesn't matter about the path, because you're focused on the path. You're not focused on anybody else. It is your race to run. There is not, remember, you're the one on the track. You're the one that's been practicing every day to run that 100 meters. There is a reason why football players, soccer players get paid an awful lot of money. They get paid more, but then people will pay for tickets in the stadium because they're not willing to put the work in. They're not willing to be the success. They'd rather sit there and moan at you for succeeding and shout at you for the silly mistakes that you made that they disagree with. So once you realize that you are the Olympic runner, you are the soccer player, you are the person running your own race, because you know exactly where you are. In soccer and football, you know that you score more goals than the opposition, you win. You know, in race, if you're going to run 100 meters, you know where the 100-meter line is. You don't stop at 80 meters. You don't stop at 50 meters and go, nah, I don't think the last 50 meters is worth me because that person over there said that I was running funny. You don't run, you focus on what you want, and you focus until that line. And that 100-meter line becomes a 200-meter line. The 200-meter line becomes a 1,000-meter line. 1,000-meter line becomes a 10,000-meter line. And you grow through your strength. But there is this social media fallacy that you have to be great to get going. And it actually is the complete opposite. You just have to get going to be great. And you've got to stop trying to be perfect from the very beginning. You know, nobody comes out of into this world being perfect at anything. We have to work at it. We have to take on board what we don't know, have the conviction to learn how to do it, then have the conviction to practice it until we get better at it. And then who cares what they say? Then they're the ones cheering you because you actually got there. So that's my take on that.
That's brilliant. That should be everyone's outlook. And, you know, leading me from that into what you do, right? You help people sell high ticket pricing on their products. You help them value themselves better. You help them, you know, really put themselves in the market in a way that the market will respond to, but they themselves will get value, like financial value and self-worth out of. What are some of the biggest obstacles you find when people first approach you?
One of the very biggest ones is self-belief. A self-belief that I can be who I want to be, because where that comes from is I don't know where I want to be. I think I know where I want to be. I think I want to be a success. And there's a lot of things out there just saying, hey, just write down your goals. How much do you want to earn this year? Oh, I want to earn 100,000. But why 100,000? What does 100,000 mean to you? 100,000, and why do you want it? Well, because that seems to be what everyone wants. Earn 6 figures, earn 7 figures. But what does it actually mean to you? And they think, ooh, I'm only on 30,000 at the moment. 6 figures seems so far away. So they're really putting this mental block in front of them. So sometimes we have to remove and redefine what our goals are.